A local high school is facing questions tonight after word got out of a baptism of a football player by the team's coach.
The Newton High Tigers having a pretty good season on the gridiron this year, but it's what's happened in the summer that has that secular foundation asking questions. The coach tonight saying he did nothing wrong.
In a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the group says Newton High School football coach Ryan Smith organized and performed a baptism on one of his football players with the entire team present. The foundation calls this illegal and has demanded a full investigation into what happened. The superintendent's office says they've been looking into the situation and released a statement late Thursday afternoon saying the baptism of a Newton Municipal School District student did not occur on school property and did not occur during school hours or during any organized school activity. Thus, the district feels this is a private matter of choice for that student. Any additional Newton Municipal School District students that attend the baptism did so as their own voluntary act and decision. Many people in town spoke with News Center 11 about the situation off camera. They say the baptism did not take place on school campus and that it actually happened on the property of a local dentist's office. News Center 11 spoke with that dentist who confirms that he gave Coach Smith permission to have the baptism on his property. He also says he was there and that it was a beautiful ceremony. News Center 11 also spoke to two Newton High School football players who say they were not obligated to go, nor were they told they had to go. They also say it happened after school hours and away from campus. Other members of the community say they don't know why the Freedom from Religion Foundation feels obligated to be involved with something that doesn't affect them. One man says it's a shame people just can't come together anymore.
After years of court battles, the Christian-owned bakery Sweet Cakes by Melissa is closing its doors. The Oregon-based company was targeted by LGBT activists when owners Aaron and Melissa Klein said they would not bake a cake for a gay wedding because of their Christian beliefs. The subsequent legal battles crippled the bakery. The Kleins had been operating out of their home for the last few years. Although they've decided to close shop, they will still stand up for religious freedom. They face a $135,000 fine and will continue to appeal it.
Yes, dead voters, millions of them, 1.8 million to be exact on voter rolls, 2.75 million as well registered dead voters in 2 states. What is happening in America? Yes, Jim Hoft at the Gateway Pundit reports that according to a recent report by the Pew Center, the American voter registration system is in dire need of an upgrade. Approximately 24 million, 1 in every 8 voter registrations in the United States are no longer valid or are significantly inaccurate. They write that more than 1.8 million deceased individuals are listed as voters. They also state that approximately 2.7 million people have registrations in more than 1 state. So that's multiple voters registered in multiple states. So that's how these people are committing vote fraud.
President Obama promised health insurance prices would go down under his plan called Obamacare, but the exact opposite has happened for many. And not only are prices still going up, critics warn Obamacare's system actually is collapsing. That's because it's hurting the people it was supposed to help.
Like many American families, Will and Tina Clark signed up for Obamacare when their employer shut down its group insurance plan. They bought a similar plan, believing promises that they'd be able to keep their own doctors.
We had primary care, a children's doctor, pediatrician, OBGYN, and then a specialist. And one by one, when we went to utilize those doctors and set up appointments for different times that we needed them, those doctors said, yeah, we don't take that plan.
Not only that, in the Dallas metro area, they had trouble finding any doctors who took their plan.
I never found another OBGYN that would take it. So I just went without.
As they paid their monthly premium, other costs mounted. Will needs an expensive shot to treat a medical condition.
It was like $20 to $50 copay a month on the group plan. Under the Affordable Health Care Act plan, that copay jumped to $150 a month.
Eventually, the couple left their nonprofit employer. Since they didn't have jobs, Obamacare dropped them. It wasn't the safety net they expected, and the Clarks aren't alone. Jennifer Huffman from North Carolina writes, overall, it is still cheaper for us to be self-pay and pay the penalty than it would be for us to carry insurance. And my prescriptions are cheaper now using coupons than it was when I had health care coverage. Stephen Kurtz from Virginia writes, Our family insurance was canceled, forced onto Obamacare, lost my doctor, premiums up, deductible up, prescriptions not covered.
You've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half. It's the craziest thing in the world.
Well, new concerns tonight about the next big quake.
A new study just out today shows the Hayward Fault is actually joined by a second fault beneath San Pablo Bay, and researchers say that could trigger major devastation across the Bay Area.
Yeah, Ken, well, we're outside of Hayward City Hall. You'll see behind me, it actually sits right on top of the Hayward Fault line, which we're finding out is actually the most dangerous fault in the state of California, and as you mentioned, is now being directly linked to another fault here in the state. And experts say if those two faults were to rupture, we could see major destruction in very heavily populated areas outside of the bay. It's been 27 years since the Loma Prieta quake killed 63 people and caused billions of dollars in damage across Northern California. Since then, U.S. Geological Survey geophysicist David Ponce has been studying faults, and in recent years his focus has shifted to the Hayward Fault and the Rogers Creek Fault. Ponce says their research showed close ties between the two, about 3 miles of separation. Until now.
We've now discovered a new fault strand of the Hayward Fault that looks like it's going to be connecting directly with the Rogers Creek Fault.
What this means for us? Well, the length of the fault is greater, which means the magnitude of the quake could be greater too if these faults rupture. He says the quake could have 5 times the energy that the Loma Prieta quake had in 1989.
This earthquake would be right along a major population corridor where many utilities and transportation lines cross the fault. So it would be much more severe, and the damage would be much greater.
The U.S. recorded the most cases of sexually transmitted diseases ever for a single year. In 2015, there were more than 1.5 million reported cases of chlamydia. That's a nearly 6% rise from the year before. Nearly 400,000 gonorrhea cases were reported last year, which adds up to an almost 13% increase from 2014. And doctors saw close to 24,000 recorded cases of syphilis, a whopping 19% rise from the prior year.
In a stunning about-turn, the president of the Philippines has announced his country will abandon its long-standing ally, the United States, and embrace China instead. During his time in office, Barack Obama had made much of swinging U.S. foreign policy towards Asia. But during a visit to Beijing, Rodrigo Duterte denounced America without reservation.
America has lost me, and will I realign myself in your ideological flow, and maybe I will also go to Russia to talk to Putin and tell him that there are 3 of us against the world: China, Philippines, and Russia.
His visit to China, accompanied by 200 business people, is expected to be worth $13.5 billion in trade deals. The US says it's baffled by the change, which will put an end to the US military presence in the Philippines.
Fox News alert, and we are learning an attempted North Korean missile launch has failed. The US and South Korea confirm the test. It's the regime's second failed launch in the course of a week.
Hi, John. Rogue nation North Korea acting up again just around the time of last night's presidential debate. Amid declarations today from Pyongyang that the regime of Kim Jong-un would continue to fire off missiles, word we're getting is that there was another launch of the mid-range Musadon missile. That's got a range of about 2,000 miles, capable of reaching the U.S. military base on Guam. It failed, like most of the tests this year of this missile, but one launch was successful this year, and all told there have been about 20 missile launches in 2016, 2 nuclear tests. One South Korean analyst today said that North Korea is on the verge of true strategic nuclear capability, that is, threatening mainland United States. No wonder, John, that there were meetings this week in Washington between administration and South Korean officials about how to stop North Korea.
Let me be clear. Any attack on the United States or its allies will be defeated, and any use of nuclear weapons will be met with an effective and overwhelming response.
Very strong words from Kerry. Set to be deployed in South Korea, an anti-missile defense system. Remember, John, there are 28,000 American troops stationed in South Korea, and this amid word just in the past couple of days that there might be nuclear-capable U.S. aircraft also to be positioned in South Korea.
Y que no solamente una agresión contra la Argentina, sino contra todo el continente norteamericano.
Today we have a report on the rise of Salafism in Germany. Salafis being fundamentalists who believe in a return to the original ways of Islam.
Joachim Gerhardt has only one goal in life, to retrieve his children. We meet the businessman in a grand Berlin hotel. He has travelled to Syria more than 20 times in the last 2 years to try to get his sons back. They joined the Islamic State group in September 2014 and have since disowned their father.
You and I will be enemies until you recognize that there is only one God who deserves to be worshipped, and that Muhammad is his messenger and servant.
There are still traces on the internet of their lives before they converted to radical Islam. Fabian wanted to become an actor. His YouTube page shows holiday videos mixed in with videos by radical preachers. Just like Fabian and Manuel, nearly 700 young Germans have joined the Islamic State group. Many of them were radicalized in Germany by preachers well known to German authorities, such as Pierre Vogel, a former boxer, or Sven Lau. Lau is famous for creating a so-called Sharia police 2 years ago in Wuppertal in the west of the country. These preachers have a huge influence on young people, says Gertz Nordbruch, who runs a radicalization prevention program.
People like Pierre Vogel and Sven Lau use hate speech against those they consider infidels, especially Christians and Jews. These speeches led some young people to commit violence, even though neither of them officially advocate this. What we also see is that a lot of young people who took part in this campaign to distribute the Quran here in Germany became radicalized and decided to go to Syria.
Gertz Nordbruch estimates that 1 in 5 German jihadists was involved with the True Religion movement that distributes Qurans throughout Germany. The organisers offer quick conversions and free Qurans and prayer books online.
This is Rashid Kassim. French officials say he's an Islamic State recruiter, likely based in Syria or Iraq, but recruiting in France. Here, in an audio message posted to the chat app Telegram, he's explaining how to buy cooking gas canisters in bulk to make a car bomb. His message was apparently heard. A group of women allegedly filled a car with gas canisters and parked it near Notre Dame Cathedral. Police stumbled upon the car after it failed to explode.
Des femmes, des sœurs passent à l'attaque.
Persuading Europeans to stay home and mount attacks is becoming crucial for Islamic State, as it loses ground in Syria and Iraq.
À la frontière, il y a la police turque qui est en train de faire un mur. Si vous êtes en France, même si les portes étaient grandes ouvertes, je vous appellerai à attaquer en terre de Kufr. Subhanallah.
Authorities suspect 29-year-old Mr. Kassim was in contact with the perpetrators of the police and priest killings this summer. And they say that he is behind other alleged attack plotters in France.
Baghdad is a virtual fortress. Navigating checkpoints and concrete blast barriers has been the norm for more than a decade. The Mosul offensive, however, is heightening the state of alert even more. Anticipating bombing retaliations for the military advance, securing the nation's capital has become a major priority. Residents are bracing for an attack.
I see every day the situation is getting worse. We're threatened every day by death, but hopefully we'll see the liberation of Mosul.
ISIL militants losing ground in Iraqi cities habitually target crowded marketplaces, checkpoints, and Shiite communities. Hundreds have been killed in bombings this year. The latest attacks were carried out less than a week ago. As a result, people are staying away from restaurants, markets, shops, and cafes.
Screenings are standard in Baghdad, but not generally in places like this. This is a small, intimate setting. This is a new, heightened measure of security, a direct result of the advance happening in the north.
Fox News Alert, and we want to make sure we get this news to you. We just got word that a U.S. service member has been killed in Iraq. Now, you know about the operation that's ongoing in Mosul, and that's being led mainly by Iraqi forces, but you also likely know that U.S. forces are on the ground in Iraq, mainly on an advising and assisting role. The question about whether or not these troops are in combat often comes down to politics, but the headline is today that there is a U.S. service member that has been killed by an IED. We don't know exactly where it happened, and we don't know the specific division that it happened for the U.S. military, but as we get more information, we'll bring it to you. In the meantime, this is the fourth U.S. service member killed in action in Iraq since 2014.
Super Typhoon Haima lashed the northern Philippines with wind gusts of up to 315 kilometers per hour. Around 30 centimeters of rainfall forced people to do whatever they could to stay safe.
We're tying it down because it's getting too windy. The wind is so strong. If we don't tie them down, we may lose all of our goods.
The Category 4 typhoon uprooted trees, downed power lines, cut off the electricity and ripped the tin roofs off houses. Thousands of people heeded the warnings from the authorities and evacuated to temporary shelters.
Just in case this storm gets stronger, we can utilise other areas here for our evacuees if there are more.
This is the tail end of the Pacific typhoon season. Around 20 of the storms batter the Philippines every year. The last one, Typhoon Sarika, hit on Sunday evening. That storm led to flooding in Hong Kong and other parts of China, which is where Haima is now heading to. Although the typhoon should weaken, the concern is the ground there is already waterlogged, which means it may not be able to cope with more rain, and that could lead to landslides.
Shards of glass, burned pieces, and tire marks. That's all that's left from this car fire on Friday in Gaffney.
Dispatch came in as a car fire threatening a structure.
Oh, and there's one more thing. Perched up on top of this car, hard to tell in this photo. It's a book, but not just any book.
They found a Bible inside the car.
A car where nothing else survived. The Lord's words were still there.
The outside of the Bible had some charge, but the inside was still, unburned.
But how?
That's pretty common. We see that a lot. There's many different theories of how that happens or why it happens.
One of those theories includes a little bit of science. The material that usually binds Bibles sometimes has a chemical that can keep it from burning quickly. And when the pages aren't open, it can save it from the flames. But others believe a higher power is protecting those sacred words.
It really is. It kind of makes you think, and kind of gets, in your heart and makes you think about what's going on at the time.